As my colleagues have noted, and you surely realized prior to this evening, finding balance in the world of administration, particularly in education, is difficult at best. To begin, as educators, we tend to be a nurturing sort, and generally we're type A personalities who consider being an overachiever an attribute. We want to get it right with every decision. We strive to lift up our school communities, providing students, families, trustees, alumni, friends of the school with authentic and far-reaching educational experiences, steeped in compassion, driven by passion, and executed with excellence. We strive to achieve all of this while serving roles in our communities as well. And then at the end of that 12 to 14-hour day, we head home to our families, anxiously waiting to spend those few remaining hours with us. So admittedly, I will tell you that achieving balance between work and home is very difficult for me, especially while serving in administrative roles, and for head of school, it has been the most difficult. So if you'll allow me a few minutes to explain. With my husband's transfer back to Georgia from Virginia, I took the position as head of school at Oak Mountain. The board's mandate was that we would live in Carrollton, and not only would I revitalize the school, but also I would be part of the Carrollton community to reestablish the school's identity in the community so that we would once again be known in Carrollton and beyond Carroll County. At the time, my husband and I were empty nesters and had been for several years. He traveled all week, and so I dedicated my life to reinventing, reinvigorating, and revitalizing a struggling school, one that had indeed lost its identity in the community. So serving a small school with limited fiscal resources and limited human resources, I totally immersed myself in the role of head of school. I was determined to be the one that was going to change it all. And as an overachiever, I was passionate about this in a profession that I loved, and still do. I purposely arrived at school before anyone ever got there, and I stayed long after everybody was safely at home. I was everywhere, all the time, on campus, off campus, and I would often hear people say, "Do you ever go home?" I became members of and served on the boards of Rotary, of Kiwanis, the Chamber of Commerce, in line to be president of all three. And I became involved in the Georgia Independent School Association, serving on that board, serving as chair of accreditation teams, all of which I thoroughly enjoy doing. At the school level, I would meet with all the organizations and administrators regularly, attend all the functions I could, including as many sporting events as possible, which is why my voice is a little more raspy, as we almost won the state championship in volleyball yesterday. I would support, and hopefully they feel I still do, my faculty personally and professionally, and I also still teach. And folks, I love it. And I remain passionate about what I do. And Carroll County knows Oak Mountain Academy, and they support Oak Mountain Academy. And I enjoy the support of my board, most of my parents, faculty, students, and my family. And apparently I'm not alone in this work schedule, because the Harvard Business School notes that nearly half of the workforce today works more than 65 hours a week. However, with technology and immediate access, compounding the stress from our never-ending work days, it is damaging to us. It can hurt our relationships, it can hurt our health, and our overall happiness. And Arch, I thought I was the poster child for work and life imbalance. Realizing this, I knew I had to do something. So I set about to do what all the experts recommend: manage my time more effectively, deliberately putting those things on my calendar that I knew would be times when nothing would be scheduled so I could spend time with family, trying to learn to say no and changing that mindset so that we realize we cannot do everything for everybody all the time. Leave work at work. There must be a boundary between work and home, and only we can establish those boundaries. And creating flex time in the day so that you have self-care. If it's just a walk or breathing exercises or 5 minutes just to find that shadow. Eating healthy, diet, exercise, getting enough sleep, that's a good one. And letting go of perfectionism. You know, I always thought that was a trait that overachievers were proud of and that it was something that people thought was wonderful. However, that gift that I thought I possessed and was so admired by others can be detrimental. Unplug. As others have said, technology does enhance our lives. However, with that constant accessibility, our workday possibly never ends. Robert Brooks is a Harvard professor in psychology, and he notes that phone notifications interrupting our off time injects an undercurrent of stress that we don't even realize. So don't text at your kid's soccer game, or in my case, my grandkids' basketball and gymnastics. Don't send work emails while you're hanging out with your family. Make it quality time. And by not reacting to those updates from work, you will develop a stronger habit of resilience. And resilient people feel a greater sense of control over their lives. The value of these sessions build a support system. I cannot tell you how comforting it is to come to sessions like this to realize we are not lone rangers. There are others who feel exactly the way we do. And being able to gather with friends in situations like we have here, the advantages are far-reaching. The time spent just relaxing and sharing, we learn that others experience what we do. And I cannot stress enough, find a mentor. My mentor is one of my favorite heads. I will tell you that while working together, we often disagreed. We often had semi-shouting matches. I didn't always agree the way he ran the school or the decisions that he made. And occasionally I would question his strategies and his motivations and his decisions. However, as a mentor, I could ask for no one to do a finer job. He lives all the way across the country from me. He's totally disassociated with all that goes on in my life. But he is able to provide objective suggestions when needed. And the most important thing that he does is he listens to things that I can't tell anyone else. And finally, I suggest pray a lot. These suggestions for maintaining balance are indeed helpful, and I could stop right here, but there's a catch to all this that I want to share with you. Maintaining sustained balance in our lives is not a realistic expectation. And we don't need to be so hard on ourselves because we aren't able to do it every day. And we don't need to feel guilty about that imbalance. I was speaking with another mentor. In fact, it's one of my trustees, former trustees. He's an extraordinary successful businessman, and he puts faith in family at the forefront of all he does, and I attribute that to his success. And when I told him about this evening and the topic, he chuckled. And I know he wondered, as I did, why in the world did they ask me to come talk to you about work and life balance? And then we settled in on the conversation about maintaining that balance. And he said something that resonated with me that changed the entire focus of what I planned to tell you tonight. He said, Paula, we're trying to sell the wrong package. Life is not balanced. It's full of unexpected ups and downs that we have to deal with. We just have to do the best we can to find that balance in between all that happens. And he's right. I felt liberated. Our lives as administrators, if they were illustrated on a chart, it would not be a flat line of balance. It would be zigs and zags and mountains and valleys. Many days are filled with the unexpected, such as the neighboring farmer next to Oak Mountain Academy, whose trained rodeo bull escaped one morning as we were having carpool. And one of my parents drove by and said, "Paula, you know how you can get rid of that cow is just get a bucket of feed." I reminded him that it was a charging rodeo bull, so I don't know if he wanted to get rid of me or the bull, but we never know what's going to happen next, or the unexpected events in families' lives and our students' lives. Dr. Idell Dreimeyer notes, "Life is not written neatly, with a steady hand between prescriptive lines of a uniform copybook. It is chaotic at its core, full of false starts, cross-outs, misspellings, and unsightly blotches. It is inherently messy, and it happens in between those plans we make." He notes, if you're trying to change a certain script in your life, start small and experience some success. Build from there, and again, do the best we can. And I think that's how we handle balance. Start small and build and do the best you can. And so I'm going to leave you with a final thought with the words of one of my favorite authors, A.A. Milne, and his Winnie the Pooh. Don't underestimate the value of doing nothing, of just going along, listening to all the things you can't hear, and not bothering. Constantly striving to maintain sustainable balance is a sometimes unrealistic expectation. We just need to do the best we can, taking Pooh's advice along the way and that of my esteemed colleagues and experts, and avoid feeling guilty, avoid that stress and that inadequacy that we feel when we don't always accomplish that balance. Doing that, I offer to you my best wishes for success, for balance, and many blessings. Thank you.